Hello, this is Jiffer Harriman here, and I'm going to walk through some Arduino to Max communication examples. So the GitHub walks through a lot of the details and talks about how to set this up and how to connect to the Arduino device. I'm just going to walk through that right now for you. So first of all, the Arduino patches that we have, the sketches that we have, this one is made for the Arduino Nano. It has 8 analog inputs, and the Uno has 6 analog inputs. Otherwise, they're basically the same. And then in the Max patch or folder, we have a couple of different patches that will read that data corresponding to the Arduino sketches. And let's just jump right into seeing how that works. So if I've already got a Arduino Nano device connected on my desk here. Let's take a look. We can see that. And so this Arduino Nano is just on a breakout board that has some additional things to make it easy to access some of these pins. I have a joystick connected, and then I also have a light sensor connected over here. So with the sketch already loaded on the Arduino, I can go into my Modular Muse Max patch. First thing I do is click here on the print icon or the print message, and that will tell me which ports are available. And then in this case, I want to connect to port D. That's my USB serial device. That's my Arduino. So I click D, and that made my Arduino flash. And now I'm going to click sampling data to click this toggle box to enable data sampling. So that starts reading the data in. You can see already, here it is. My joystick is moving all of the analog pins A through 0 through 3, just because nothing is connected to 1, 2, and 3. Pin 4 has my light sensor. You can see that going up and down. And then on the digital side, since the Arduino sketch uses input pull-up on the pin mode, that means all I have to do is make a connection between ground and the digital pin. And you can see over here on the right, my digital data coming in. It will toggle from 1 to 0. Okay. And you heard a sound there because I have a patch open. So this is reading the data, and then if you look in here, there's a send for each analog pin and each digital pin, and that makes it easy to route this data throughout Max MSP. So if I create a new patch, I can read a digital pin by doing receive, and then here I'll say D2, and then I can see confirm. Indeed, when I touch D2, I see this value toggle from high to low. So if I wanted to make that into a button, I like to use the change object just to prevent too much data from coming through. This will only output when the value changes. Next, I'm going to use the select object and look for a 0. So when the value changes and it goes to a 0, then this will trigger. So there I have turned this into a button or a trigger, as opposed to just like a momentary switch versus a toggle on and off. Similarly, I can grab analog data by typing receive and then let's do A4. Here I have the light sensor connected to A4. And so I have a range of about 600 and something up to 1023. So after that, I might use like a scale object to just give me something give me a new range that's useful. Let's say I wanted to send a value between 48 and 72, which is some MIDI note numbers, 2 octaves or so of MIDI data. And oops, I want to send that here. I'm gonna just broke my scale object. Okay. Oops. All right. So here I'm scaling the data again, in this case, to go to a new range. And there it is. It's kind of noisy data. So we might also, in some of the examples, I do some other filtering to just smooth out the data using the line object, for example. So let's look real quick at some of these other examples that are in here. So first of all, let's run this FM. I'm going to close this one for now. In the FM demo patch, this one uses all of the digital pins. You can see that data coming in there, and if I turn up my volume, I should hear something, and I'm gonna just make some adjustments on this synth. I want it to go there. Okay. So let me put this side by side so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm triggering sound by toggling a digital pin. And then I have an analog pin controlling my, in this case, the FM depth for this instrument. Let's look at one other example. So again, I'm just running this in the background, and this data is being sent between different max patches. This one also just uses a bunch of digital pins, and if I connect different digital pins, in this case it turns on and off these different percussion sounds, and they're also all running at different rates, so it kind of ends up being this polyrhythmic thing when you turn them all on. You don't have to do it this way with patch running in the background. You can also just simply embed one of these objects into a patch, and that's the last example I'm going to look at here. This one is going to use the modular Uno and bringing it into a patch as a sub patch. But it's going to work the same way. I can print in order to see my available ports, and here again, port D is my USB serial, so I click D. If I needed a different port, then I could add it here. Turn that on to start reading the data, and this one's reading from digital pin D7 and analog pin A0. So here analog A0 is connected to an accelerometer. And if I use a wire here to connect ground to D7, then I should get sound as long as I turn up the volume. Cool. This one also inverts the value of the digital pin so that 0 is 1 and 1 is 0, because that works for the ADSR object as a note on-off message. The last thing I will point out about this is that in the simple examples, there is a Arduino to Max example and a corresponding max patch, which simply read values, two values, and then send it over the serial port. And then that is parsed in this patch, and you can see how that's done. So if you needed to make a change, or you had a different need in your Arduino sketch, because let's say you have a I2C sensor or something like that you need different code for, then you could use that or modify one of the other ones and then send your data over. And the data is separated by spaces, so if you want to send additional data, you just send a space serial.print with a space and then your new value. And so now we're sending 3 values, and in Arduino to Max, we could edit this patch to parse those values. They're just going to come in as a list that gets unpacked in order in between new lines that are sent from the end of the Arduino sketch. So this sends the values, and then it prints a new line, and then that will get reset. That's parsing it right here. It's looking for a new line, and so the list of values will get unpacked here, and that's pretty much it. So if there are any questions, please do not hesitate to contact me. You can email me, and I will also try and be available during part of the meeting time Friday, assuming campus is open. And that's all I got. Happy hacking.